I've always liked reading fantasy novels, non fiction, comics. I'll read pretty much anything. Well, almost anything. Now, I like my cartoons and my movies and all that good stuff, but something about the way words can be arranged to tell stories, the feeling of turning pages to see what comes afterwards, just captivates my imagination in a way no other medium can. It's something that isn't quite describable. What I'm trying to say is that I think reading is pretty neat. However, not everyone shares this sentiment, especially people around my age. Now, I might sound like one of those I was born in the wrong generation type of people, but just hear me out for a bit. I think that the culture of reading is something that has been neglected, as lots of people in our society misunderstand it. So I'm going to try and explain what I like about it and hopefully get you to try reading sometime. Back in primary school or elementary or prep, high school, the prequel, whatever you want to call it, reading was much more enjoyable. Teachers actually cared about students reading anything besides textbooks and notes, and we used to have an entire lesson just dedicated to being in the library. This was my favorite time of week. The library was such a magical place to me, and the books were amazing. There was Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Big Nate, the How to Train Your Dragon series, Geronimo Stilton. There was just so much you could read, so many different genres of books you could find. I would spend almost all my free time at school there. Each day held the possibility of finding something new, a book that I could lose myself in. I could go to faraway places that I would otherwise never be able to visit, learn about creatures that didn't exist anymore or didn't exist at all. I could do all this while sitting at the lunch table or on the couch at home. It was one of the best feelings in the world. But as I got older, reading became much harder, and not just because I was discovering more complex pieces of literature. As you work your way through school, you have a greater amount of homework and studying to do, so reading just for the sake of it kind of feels tiring. If you force people to do something that they may have otherwise been okay doing, their willingness to carry out that task greatly diminishes. It's like when you want to do something like doing the dishes or picking up litter just for the sake of it, but just as you're about to do it, someone asks you to, so now it feels like you're being forced. That feeling of independence, of making a personal decision, is taken away from you. I know that sometimes you have to do things you don't want to. That's just life, but we shouldn't feel that way all the time, especially not about something like reading. I think a central part as to why lots of people grow a disdain for reading is due to the type of material that's read in most schools. The texts they make you read are sometimes kinda dull, to be honest. Now, I'm not saying reading old books is bad. Some of them can actually be quite interesting. I just wish schools added some more recent, more varied books to their syllabuses. Instead, they would rather force kids to figure out the implicit historical connotations of why the writer chose to include the sentence, "The apple is red" in the text. Not everything has to have a deeper meaning. Sometimes sentences can just be sentences, and words can just be words, and meanings can just be meanings, and the universe. I remember once in an English class, we spent a term analyzing fantasy, looking at all the conventions and possibilities of the genre. I found it quite engaging and entertaining, because it was different from what we usually used to do, and it was about a subject I genuinely enjoyed. Why not take this approach with other genres as well? Maybe every once in a while a different type of book is chosen to be studied, with the texts read to be chosen from that genre. I know it's a bit of an outlandish idea, but it's one that could be worked on and potentially incorporated into syllabuses worldwide. So, you may be asking, you might like reading, but why should I try it out? Well, there are several reasons. The fact that books have been around for a long time means there's a plethora of material to consume. Pretty much all books are original, so you can almost always count on something new and interesting. I'm not saying that literature is the superior form of storytelling, but rather that it's another amazing medium for us to enjoy. I get that not everyone can enjoy reading to the same degree, sometimes for reasons that we can't control. That's perfectly fine. Like I said, it isn't something that you should be forced to do. But if you're able to, then why not try? Find what works for you. It could be mysteries, graphic novels, biographies. There's so much to choose from. Even reading something as small as an article, whether in a newspaper, in a magazine, or online can help stimulate your mind, get you thinking. The possibilities are virtually endless. The written word is one of the most powerful tools humanity has at our disposal. When used right, it allows us to achieve amazing things. Words can be used to educate, entertain, and inspire thousands, millions of people around the world. With all the wonderful technology that has been pioneered in the entertainment industry, we still have a long way to go. So many constraints, so many boundaries to break past. But books, as old as they are, don't have that many. There are only two really: the writer's words and your own imagination. So, pick up something to read sometime. You may just find yourself enjoying it more than you thought. Thanks for your time.